All right, what is up, everybody? Divine Hood here, coming at you with another daily update on Bitcoin and the crypto markets. And wow, did we have a day today? Crazy price action. We knew it was going to be a crazy day with Trump's Liberation Day happening, and we got quite a volatile day. We got quite a volatile pump into the into the Liberation tariff announcements, and we got quite a volatile dump afterwards. So let's go ahead and jump into the stream here, jump into Bitcoin's price action, and we can describe what happened today since yesterday's video that I made. In yesterday's video, we were hovering up right around in this little area here. We were forming a range here. I was looking for a move up to at least 86K. We talked about if 86K holds, we will look for shorts from there. If not, our next level of resistance would be the naked weekly point of control in confluence with the daily, in confluence with the 786, and we would go from there. So let me go ahead and check the chat real quick, see how all you guys are doing here. Welcome, everybody. No stop loss. Let's go crazy. Frankie just finished his live stream. Awesome. Awesome. Yes, we did hit the value area high before dumping. So welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining. Let me know, is the volume okay? Sound okay? Music okay? Let me know in the chat here. Spike up stuff. Dang, dude, I got stopped out on that spike as well. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and get into this price action. So yesterday we were in this area. We were looking for Bitcoin to, sounds fine. Awesome. All right. Okay. So we were looking for a move. Let me zoom in here onto the 15-minute chart for a bit. And we were up in this little range here, this micro range that was forming above this pitchfork band, the upper part of the band. So you can see these two green lines here are that pitchfork band of the bearish pitchfork that we've been following really since the all-time high. And what we were looking for yesterday is for the pitchfork band or the point of control to hold as support to see a continuation up to at least 86K. And once we got to 86K, we were going to look for shorts if we saw proper confirmations to enter shorts and then go from there. If 86K broke, the next area of resistance I was looking for was between the daily and the naked weekly point of control. We also had a 786 up in this purple box area here. So these were primarily the two levels of resistance that I was watching from yesterday's video. I also said in yesterday's video, it was highly more likely that we do work our way up at least to 86K now that we were breaking above the point of control and flipping the band to support. So you can see here overnight, we did get that drop to the point of control to test the point of control, held the point of control, flipped it to support, came up a little bit, and then we back tested the band again, held the band as support in this area, and shot up to our weekly chart, weekly level of resistance, which was a weekly level golden pocket and the value area high of our smaller range. Now, I see Bitcoin's bouncing from this daily. Don't worry, I'm watching this, and if we start to see some low time frame market structure shift, which we are now seeing, bull divs on the chart. We have 5-minute bull divs into our daily. I would like to come a little bit lower, guys, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. This daily is a level that I was watching for support. All right. Anyways, while we're here on the 5-minute, we can look at our weekly level. So you can see we tapped right up into that weekly level, the level of resistance we were watching yesterday, and we did get a quick reaction off of that level. Now, earlier today in the Discord, I did say I was looking for a short from this area. We got an immediate 1-minute test on this level. So we hit the level here on the 1-minute chart, and we got our immediate golden pocket retest, bearish retest, bearish retrace on the golden pocket. So if we go from the highs to the lows of this little move here, and we just turn on that golden pocket, you can see we hit into that golden pocket, and I shorted right here at this golden pocket, looking to take some profit at the VWAP, knowing that it was a trending day and knowing that this was only going to be a scalp. Like I said yesterday, this would be a scalp short to take profit either at the back test of the pitchfork band or at the point of control. And I saw it when I saw it reversing here. I did take a little bit of profit just to cover fees, and then I got stopped out on the rest of it. we kept continuing. We were actually forming a sort of a triangle consolidation pattern here. You can see from these lows, we kind of had this triangle consolidation that was forming here, and we broke out of that triangle to the upside with volume here, 1 minute time frame, and we broke that weekly with volume. Now, the second we started breaking this weekly with volume, I did post in the Discord, the next level I'm looking for a short is at the 87.2K resistance. I am not going to be looking for anything before we get up here, because really, once you break the larger golden pocket, which was in confluence with that weekly, the next highest probability is to work your way up to the next major resistance area. And Bitcoin had been trending pretty strongly for the entire day. So we did work our way up to that area. We continued pumping here up into our area of resistance. We saw us pump right to that naked weekly point of control here, got the rejection. And on the, if we zoom, actually, let's zoom back into the 1 minute again. And let's look at this here. So coming in on the 1 minute chart here, we got the rejection and we came up for a golden pocket backtest in the backtest of this daily here. Now I did short this right here and we were starting to drop. Actually, I think I shorted after rejecting here once we lost the daily. That's right. I shorted here once we lost the daily. And I was looking to take profit at the backtest of the weekly. I posted about this in the Discord. The bullish backtest of the weekly, now that we were breaking it as resistance, a possible flip to support was possible. So I was looking to take profit at that backtest. We did drop down here, and when we started pumping in this area, I took a little bit of profits just because I thought it might continue running here. It was right before Trump Liberation Day actually started, like the press conference actually started, so I took some profit here. We got to push up to our local golden pocket once again, so let me zoom out to the 5 minutes so this is a little bit more digestible. And if we just go from the highs, our local highs, to those lows, here you can see that we hit up right into that golden pocket here. And then this was pretty much right when the event was starting, the press conference was starting. So I had already taken out, I think I only took out 25% of my trade. And then we did drop to that weekly, which did trigger my TP for another take profit on that trade, another 25% take profit. So I was 50% out of the trade just because the strength of the day was showing us that we had high probability to continue up. And I would have added to my position if we started losing this weekly. I would have re-added what I took out to the position, compounded the position, which would have brought my average entry price lower, but I would accept that. And what ended up happening is we saw a very strong reaction from this weekly. We turned it into a support. So what used to be resistance was now flipped into support, and we rocketed to the upside, rocketed really quickly to the upside. And where did we find resistance? Well, two areas. Let's go ahead and zoom out to the hourly chart. You can see that we found resistance at the Pitchfork top. Now, this bearish Pitchfork has been pulled from the 109K highs, and this bearish Pitchfork has been highly respected. Anytime we come to the top of the Pitchfork, we have been rejected in the past. It was also in confluence with the value area high. Now, in yesterday's video, we were talking about this intermediate range after the impulse ended. So let's go ahead and zoom out here. Let me get rid of this little guy now. And let's just zoom out to the 2 hour to make this a little bit cleaner here. All right. So after our Bybit hack here, we had a clear 5-wave impulse to the downside. This guy here was a clear 5-wave impulse to the downside, followed by that weekend where we got the 3-wave corrective Trump tweet. Big explosive corrective price action, but make no mistake, that was a correction, 3-wave correction. So after this impulse ended, we have been in a series of complex corrections in here. Pull your volume profile, and we're trying to now determine the fair value for Bitcoin. The old fair value for Bitcoin was up in this range for a few months. We lost this range to the downside with volume on an impulse. And we even came back up and back tested that value area low, which was about 93K. Back tested that value area low, rejected here and rejected here. Two back tests of the value area low, rejected that value area low. So now the market confirmed that it's trying to establish a new fair value for Bitcoin in a new range that is lower than our previous range here. We also knew we did have a distribution pattern up in here. I covered that about 6 or 7 weeks ago on my YouTube channel. If you guys want to go watch that, you can go watch that. So we had a high probability to come lower. Now we're forming a new range, trying to establish a new fair value for Bitcoin so we can pull this volume profile from after this impulse ended and just check this bigger volume profile. What was it? Last Sunday, we came down to the volume profile. We hit into the value area low. Now on Coinbase, we hit exactly into the value area low. That's changed now. It's raised up a little bit now, but if we go back here and we just take this and we bring it back to this area, you can see that we hit exactly into the value area low on Coinbase. We did front run this area of support that I was talking about in my last live stream last Sunday, and we did get the push up. Now, the second we broke above the point of control yesterday, we talked about just simple range trading, bounce from the value area high. Well, first of all, rejected from the value area high here, lost point of control. We had a high probability to move down to the value area low. Bounced from value area low, reclaimed point of control. See, now it's a high probability to backtest that point of control as a support. If it holds as a support, you have a high probability to come up to the value area high again. So we did just that today. We came up to the top of the pitchfork and to the value area high of our range that we have been trading in. The fair value for right now for Bitcoin is within this range. The market is trying to establish this price action, and we did reject pretty harshly here. You can also see if we look at our previous little range that we had up in here last weekend, it was the value area high of this little range as well. So a lot of confluence up here, especially the pitchfork, the bearish pitchfork. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out on the chart on the 4 hour, and I just want to go into this bearish pitchfork for a second. So let me go ahead and delete this. Let's delete this for a second. And you can see how well this bearish pitchfork has been respected overall. You know, every time we come to the top of it, we do reject from the top of the bearish pitchfork. And we have been in a bearish trend from the all-time high, making lower lows and lower highs on the chart on more macro timeframes. Now, once again, we did make a lower high just barely, but we also came up enough to sweep that liquidity that I was also talking about in yesterday's video. We had that liquidity that was between 88,400 and 88,800. If we come into our liquidation heat map charts, you can see all that liquidity that was above there has now been swept and taken out on the chart, allowing the market makers to stop out all those shorts and then continue price action to the downside. Okay, I'm going to zoom in real quick here because I see that Bitcoin is starting to move a bit and I want to check this out. I'm going to be watching right now for a bearish backtest of this band. If this band does start to reject us, I do think we're going to make our move down to the value area low. Okay, let me go ahead and check the chat real quick while everyone is here. It's great, cool. Yes, we do. Okay, Andrew, I'll check Solana too. And Vision, thank you for subscribing, man. I appreciate that. Okay, so guys, we are bouncing from the daily. Let's go ahead and zoom out to the hourly and let's see how Market Cipher B looks on the hourly. This is something that I was highlighting during Jason's stream. Jason was streaming during the Trump press conference, and you can see here, yesterday I talked about this in the video. If we made one more high, either into the daily or into our next resistance level at the naked weekly point of control, or into the weekly or into our daily at 87.2, we could form a third drive of bearish divergence. So you can see here, locally, bearish divergence. Higher highs on the price action, lower highs on the momentum waves. Now, again, today with the pump up to 87.2 and even up to our 88.5K area, you can see we have 3 drives of bear div, or 3 humps, a double drive of bear div on the 1 hour chart at a bigger resistance area, being the top of the pitchfork and the value area high of our range, giving us confirmation to look for shorts during this area. Now, I did not get in a short here. It was just a little bit too volatile for me, and I understand how these news events trade. I was actually looking, if it started closing hourly candles above here, I was looking for a move up to 91K. That didn't happen, and I just don't like to trade super high volatility events like this. I generally tend to stick away from those. So Now I did attempt to shorten here. I did shorten here, and I did get those 2 TPs, and then I got stopped out on the rest of the trade. So I got 50% TP, got stopped out on the rest of the trade. My stop was right above the high from earlier today, I should say. And now we just saw a major dump on the price here. We are dumping, and looks like we are starting to hold our daily as support. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the 15-minute chart and let's look at this. Let me go ahead and delete this guy. Yeah, okay, pretty harsh rejection right now from our Pitchfork band. So once again, guys, Pitchfork band acting as resistance, finally able to break above it. And here it looks bad, but if we zoom out to the hourly, it was a 1 hour wick past it. But overall, the Pitchfork band held the support. So you can see here, resistance, support, broke above it. We did see a drop overnight down to the point of control, which is also our key anchored VWAP from the 49K lows. This anchored VWAP here bounced from that, came above the Pitchfork band, back tested the Pitchfork band, came up to new highs. Now that we are losing and just dumping through our entire Pitchfork band, we gotta suspect that it could act as resistance again. It's gonna be a sort of resistance. Now, I wouldn't call it a bigger resistance. This thing is more local and there's not much confluence here. So I would say the top of the band is going to be a better resistance for us. It's very local, very close to our point of control area. But right now we are attempting to see a bounce on Bitcoin. Let's zoom in onto the 12-minute chart. Let's see if we see any bull divs here. No real bull divs on Bitcoin. Let's see. I guess you could say here, even though I don't like that, lower lows on the price action, higher lows on the momentum waves. Money flow is curving back to the upside. To me, I would rather see more local divs here. Maybe if we did something like this, came down here, formed more local divs here on the lower time frames, because these regional divs on lower time frames can be a bit misleading, especially if your money flow is overall in draining. So this is, if we start to reclaim this Pitchfork band, then I would be interested in looking for a back test along at least up to the point of control. You wouldn't want to put your stop below this low though, because that risk reward ratio is not good enough. Okay, let's zoom in onto the 5-minute charts. So yeah, those 5-minute bull divs are there. Lower lows on the price action, higher lows on the momentum waves. Money flow bottoming out and starting to curve to the upside, which is what we want to see. So we did have a little bit of confirmation to look for a long at this daily, or at least a TP. If you shorted anywhere up in here, a TP here would be a nice area to look for the TP. All right, looks like we are starting to break market structure here. So now what we can look for, we've got our little 5-minute break in market structure. I'm going to be looking for a back test now, or we can do a golden pocket pull. Pull our golden pocket from the lows to these current highs, which are about to get broken, and look at this golden pocket area. Looks like we're going to keep pumping here. So let's keep an eye on this. The way we came down, you guys, we are going to see a lot of imbalances in single prints in this area. So what I want to do now, let's zoom out here and let's look at our 2 volume profiles. So the first volume profile we're going to be paying attention to is our smaller volume profile from the 76.6 lows to our current day price action. You can see one of the reasons why I was looking for a short at the weekly was not only a golden pocket there, but our value area high of our smaller range was there. So this point of control is in confluence with the top of our Pitchfork band. Now that we are losing the point of control, we could look for a bearish backtest of the point of control. If we reject from this general area, we can look for a move down to the value area low or to that key level of support that we front ran between 81K and 80.5K. All right, and then let's go ahead and grab one more volume profile, and we're going to throw it on our more intermediate range after that impulse ended. Let me get this right on here. There we go. And we can look at, yeah, point of controls in the same area. Point of controls in the same area. Our value area low on that volume profile is a bit higher. Let's go to Coinbase though, because if any of you have been following me for a while, you do know that I use Coinbase for my volume levels. I think that Coinbase is the higher respected chart as far as volume levels go. And we do know those volume profiles are a bit different. So see how much lower the value area low is on Coinbase. 81,550-ish. Bybit, it's all the way up here, 81.7. So not too much of a difference actually, but a little bit. Okay, let me get rid of this guy here. And let's do that second volume profile pull. All right. This anchored VWAP here is also going to be acting as a resistance. Yeah, okay. All right, let me check the chat real quick, see what you guys are saying here. You know I'm going to ask about Super. Yeah, Jaffiel, I'll look at Superman. Christian with the bull pick? No, I'm not Christian with the bull pick. I'm not sure who that is. Are you referring to Jason's Discord or Frankie's? Because I'm not in Frankie's, but what are the Pitchfork levels? Okay. 786 or others. Are you asking what Pitchfork levels do I use? So let me go ahead and show you here. When I pull a Pitchfork, for instance, this bullish Pitchfork that we're looking at right now, it's a higher time frame bullish Pitchfork. So let's go out on the daily. You can see that the all-time high rejected us. The top of the Pitchfork rejected us at the all-time high here. Or the 108K high, I should say. And we do have another Pitchfork where both of them rejected us. So what I do with my Pitchforks is, if you just go into your settings here, I just turn on the 0.5 and the 0.618. Now that's going to make these bands here. You can see that I call this the upper band of the Pitchfork. I call this the lower band of the Pitchfork. So, I don't know if that's a technical term. That's just the term I made up for them, I guess. Those are the two bands of the Pitchfork. Then, of course, you're going to have your midline of the Pitchfork, and you're going to have your top and bottom of the Pitchfork. Now, your top and bottom of the Pitchfork are always going to be your strongest levels of support and resistance. The midline is your next strongest level, and oftentimes in these bands, you will see chop for a bit. It likes to form like a range in these bands, and then it will either lose them or break them to the upside. So that is just the levels that I'm looking at, and then you just choose which style Pitchfork based off a few things here. Price action, how well it's been respected in the past. What you're trying to measure. Like this was our wave 3 impulse on our weekly impulse to the upside. So trying to get our wave 5 targets, I'm going to be looking at a skiff Pitchfork here. Stuff like that. Okay, so let's zoom in here onto the 2-hour chart, because I do want to talk about this Pitchfork as well. Now, this Pitchfork here is the same exact Pitchfork as the one I have on Coinbase. Skiff Pitchfork from the wave 2 lows to our wave 3 highs to our wave 4 lows. If you're looking in terms of Elliot waves, we had our 5-wave impulse to the upside on the weekly. On Coinbase, the wick, not that wick, the wick down here was not near as strong as on Bybit. So it does change the level. So I follow Coinbase more. So I'm following this Pitchfork more than Bybit's Pitchfork, but I still need to keep that Bybit Pitchfork on the charts, because it is still being respected, and I like to compare the differences on them. But look how much longer that wick was down here at the end. So that's the only difference, but they're the same exact Pitchforks. But if we go into this Pitchfork, let me zoom in now onto the hourly chart, and you can see here that pretty much since we've lost this Pitchfork midline here, it's been acting as resistance anytime we come up to it. And if we zoom out onto the daily, once again, I know I'm switching time frames a lot. I'm sorry about that, you guys. But overall, it was holding as support majority of the time in this area, and now it's acting as a resistance. If we can continue down to the lower part of the band, an SFP into the lower part of the band would be nice to see, around 75K. That is something I'm also watching. Okay, and another scenario that I talked about yesterday in the Discord was the ABC correction. After this, let me go ahead and zoom out onto the 2-hour chart. We were looking at this push up from 76.6, which, by the way, I was looking for along at the exact low there based off of our ABC correction. But we were looking at this rising channel to the upside. And I did say if we break this channel, we have a high probability to come down to our golden pocket area, which was in confluence with the second pivot of the channel. Anytime you break a channel like that, you usually sweep the liquidity at least down to the second pivot, if not the entire channel. So we were looking for that move down. Now we did get that move down, barely front ran the golden pocket, and then we saw this push up over the last few days. But I was looking at this being an A wave, a B wave that could have taken us to our weekly where the golden pocket was, and then seeing a C wave down. Now, because of the volatility that happened today, we did push up a little bit higher. Once we broke that golden pocket in 786, I was actually looking for a B flat. So what you want to see in a B flat Elliott wave correction is you want to come take out your highs. You want to SFP your highs in the B wave. And you can see here how nice that SFP would have been. An SFP into the Pitchfork midline, take out those highs, grab that liquidity, and then dump in your C wave down to take out your lows. Now, we did not come all the way up and take that liquidity, but this is pretty much a flat wave. You know, you could consider it a running flat where we actually didn't take the highs. And now we are dumping, and this dump here over the last few hours does look impulsive. If we go ahead, let me get rid of this stuff here. If we go ahead and turn on our volume, you can see the volume on this dump, very high volume on this dump, telling us that this is a impulsive move to the downside. And what we could be seeing is a much larger dump in process. This, I hate to get this bearish on you, but I just want to lay out the scenarios so that if it happens, you guys aren't going to be thrown off by it. Because, and let me get rid of this for a second, because what we could be seeing now is in your C wave, you're looking for a 5-wave impulse to the downside in a C wave. So it is very, very possible that we do see this just being a wave 1, where maybe now we're going to retrace up to that point of control as a wave 2, see our big explosive wave 3, you know, 80.7, 80.5, that area of support that we front ran. See one more wave 4, back testing these lows, what you see 5, maybe to come out to take out our lows into our Pitchfork band of support. That is something. Now, this is a very quick flush to the downside as far as time goes. Yeah, it does look like we could be starting a bigger impulse to the downside, where over the next few days, we do see that push down to take out our lows at 76.6. This is a possibility that I am watching on the charts. Okay. Oh, did the music stop? All right. Music's good. Okay. Okay, let me check the chat here, guys. Yeah, definitely, Roy. Absolutely. For the pitchforks, do you use log or linear scale? So, Roy, that's a great question, and it actually depends on how high time frame the pitchfork is, because in pitchforks, you do want to take them from more macro swing highs and swing lows. Like the larger time frame the pitchfork is, the more high level support it's going to bring. So let me actually go on to my 4th chart here. This is the Binance chart that I have, and I keep a lot of my high time frame pitchforks on this chart. So let's zoom out to the daily here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on a couple pitchforks. Let me get rid of some of this stuff here. This pitchfork, first of all, before we talk about the other pitchforks, this pitchfork here was pulled from the last entire bull market, from our COVID 2020 lows to our 69K highs of our all-time high of our prior cycle, down to our bear market lows. And you can see overall how well this is respected. And on the weekly level, we are trying to hold this midline. We are really we're wicking past it, but we are really trying to hold it on the weekly chart. Now, to me, this looks kind of bearish, because oftentimes when you see a quick flush down to it and like this grind around it for a bit, almost like a bear flag, you can eventually, when you break it, see that break. And I would be expecting that 72 to 70K area where we have our previous range value area high and our golden pocket pull from 49K all the way up to our all-time highs. That golden pocket is in that area. So we have confluence there. Now, as far as linear or log scale, this is a super high time frame chart with a percentage move that's over 100% moves. You know, if we go ahead and take our little measurement tool and we look at this, I mean, that's, you know, a 2000% move. So you can't use logs or linear scale on that and get proper measurements. You know, what log scale does is it kind of corrects for those big volatile moves that are over 100%. So it depends on what time frame you're using on. Like if I zoom in here, onto like a 2-hour chart. And I'm just going to pull a pitchfork, from the 76.6 lows. We could have even done something like this here. Grab our pitchfork here. We can go from the 76.6 lows up to our highs here, and then down to our lows here. And look at that. I mean, like, you could, but I'm not, I am on log scale still. So if you're on log scale, pull your pitchfork on log scale. But as far as if you're looking at higher time frame levels, like support and resistances, like big bull market pitchforks, you're going to want to stay on log scale. Anything that has a price movement of more than 100%, I would say use log scale for. You're trying to account and correct for those high volatility moves, high percentage different moves. Okay, let's see here. Log scale. Yeah. Yes, these are on log scale. So let me go ahead and I'll delete that now. But see how these pitchforks can work? Here, it was acting at the midline was acting as a resistance, broke above it, came to the top of the upper band. Now, even locally, this band is trying to hold us down. So we have a high probability to rotate down. If we reject from this band here, we have a high probability to rotate down to the bottom of the pitchfork, which is where the value area low of our range is. At the bottom of the pitchfork. So yes, that is how you can look at pitchforks and use them as a tool. They're really a great tool to use. Now, I would caution you on using them on too small time frames, because just like with Elliot waves, just like with a lot of these tools, when you try to zoom in and pull pitchforks on super low time frames, oftentimes you can get more fake outs on those. And this one we'd probably want to do a original pitchfork, but you can get some fake outs on them and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, we were trading nicely in this until we broke impulse down here. But that is kind of what I use pitchforks for. Okay, let's go into those higher time frame pitchforks real quick while we're here. All right. Now, one of the reasons last week I was looking for a move up to like 90.5 to 91K was because we have 3 very high time frame pitchfork confluences up in this resistance area. Now, I am still looking for 91K to be a resistance area because of the higher time frame pitchfork. So let's zoom out here onto the daily and we'll look at these one at a time real quick, just because you'll see how amazing they can be respected. So that's the one we were just looking at. I'll turn that one off. We'll turn this one on. This one was a pitchfork. Let me get rid of this. Pulled from the very beginning of the bull market. Wave 1, you had your wave 1 impulse, your wave 2 correction here with, once again, this is a good example of a flat wave, okay? You can see here we had our 3-wave correction. 1, 2, 3 wave correction and then impulse. Well, on your wave B, you can see we took the highs of wave A on this here, flat correction, dumped down, took the lows. So we might be seeing something very similar to Bitcoin on local timeframes right now, where we had this chop down, this big push up. Now, I know we didn't take the highs, but we got very close. And then you can drop to now take the lows and then see a move. But anyways, this pitchfork here was pulled from the very beginning of the bull market. And if we look at this, it was highly respected. Chopped around, broke above the midline, held it as support for many weeks here, busted up to the top, rejected from the top, came down to the midline, finally broke above it, back tested its support. Just you can see the how well it's been respected overall in higher time frames. That chopping around in the band that I talked about, you'll see that a lot here. And now what happened here, and I was showing this pitchfork last week, because anytime you break above a pitchfork, it's very similar to a volume profile. Oftentimes when you break above it, you'll come back in a healthy market to bullishly backtest it, to flip it to support, to see if you want to continue higher. Well, we pretty much backtested it here, but we couldn't make new highs. So eventually we lost it and dropped back in it. Now you can see here on the daily, we had a strong wick dropping back in it, but no daily closes below the pitchfork band. Pitchfork band held overall. We pumped up to the top. Now that we're inside of it, it's like a bearish backtest of it. We're inside of the Pitchfork, bearish backtest, backtested it, confirm rejection, drop to the midline. Now bounce from the midline, backtest the band, you know, even today, kind of backtest the band. If we cannot start reclaiming this band in here, we are probably going to drop at least to the midline again, if not down to the next level of major support. Now, this will take time, and there will be bounces along the way with more local levels of support. So I don't want to say it's going to do this, you know. So this is a Pitchfork that is highly respected that I've been watching. That's from the very beginning of the bull market. This is the guy. Oh, wait, that's the same one. This one is our wave 3 Pitchfork based off of our third wave Elliot impulse, but it's just a modified skiff instead of a skiff. You can see our 76.6 lows. We were looking for it to be the lows based on many things. Pitchfork support. And one of the reasons why I was looking to come up to 90.5, if I turn on that other Pitchfork here, you can see that in this area, we have the two confluences here of the Pitchforks. And I do think there was a third one too. This guy. Yeah, so all up in here. Anyways, that's a little bit of a tutorial on the Pitchforks and what I'm looking at on the higher time frames Pitchforks here. I am also still following this fib channel. This fib channel has guided me through the entire bull market. Once again, this channel was pulled from the very low of the bear market to our first high, to our higher low. And at first, I was looking at it just as the channel. Let me go ahead and turn that off. Just as the channel, right, came up to the top of the channel, which was also our macro golden pocket between our all-time high and our lows. This was right around the spot ETF launch. We dropped 10K to the midline, bounced from the midline, broke it, found it support, came to new all-time highs. But once we broke above it here, you can say, okay, now I need to turn on my extinctions on the channel. So you turn on your extinctions there, and you can see I was looking for shorts up here based off of it being the 1.618. We took that short all the way down to retest the channel. Now that we are breaking back within the channel, and let me turn off that other one. Where's it at here? All right, anyways, now that we're breaking back down within the channel, you can see we kind of bounced from the midline and we're holding around this 618 area. If we start to lose it, we can expect to move back down to the midline of the channel again, which depending on time-wise, could be around that 80.7 or it could be around the 78.5 daily if we really start to nuke. All right, back to our Coinbase charts. Let's check out Bitcoin, see how it is doing here. Yeah, the anchor VWAP is now acting as a resistance. Anchor VWAP Pitchfork band on the bearish Pitchfork. Starting to reject here. But we did break market structure. So since we have broken market structure, at least on the 5-minute time frame bullishly, now what we can do is we can pull our fib from the lows of today to that little high on the 5-minute, and we can look between this the golden pocket and the 786. You know, I call it the JC pocket after Jason Casper because I learned this strategy from him. So this general area here, if we are back testing this area, if we drop to back test this area and we see local bullish absorption on the charts, we can look to enter along here, stop below our low, take it up to at least the point of control. I would look to take it up to the point of control, if not higher. And that is a good risk-reward ratio trade there. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep an eye on this over the next few minutes. Let me check the chat here. Do you have a Discord yet? I don't have a Discord, Marcus. I might in the next few months, but right now I am waiting. Let's just say it could be coming in the next couple months, but it won't happen for at least a couple months because I have some commitments that I've made. And so we'll see. We'll see. But I do hang out in Jason Casper's Discord every single day, and that's generally where I post my updates throughout the day. I post consistently throughout the day in there, letting people know what I'm looking for. And I also do some live streams in there as well, just for the Discord. This channel looks like we're due for a decent bounce up. Are you talking about like this super small channel here, this very steep, this thing here? Because I wouldn't say... Here's the thing. Let's see. 1, 2. This does actually look, as far as on the 5-minute. Now, I don't like to use Elliot waves under the 15-minute because it gets super noisy and it can be super hard to micro count all these waves here. But when we're looking for a Elliot wave impulse to the downside, say it's going to be a 5-wave impulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within your wave 1, you're looking for a smaller 5-wave impulse within that, right? Within your wave 2, you're looking for a 3-wave correction to the upside. Within your wave 3, you're looking for a 5-wave impulse down. Within your 4, you're looking for a 3-wave correction. And within your wave 5, you're looking for a 5-wave impulse. Those are sub counts within a larger, higher count, you know? So if this is going to be a bigger wave 1 to the downside, like I was describing earlier, this is going to be a wave 1, a wave 2, you know, wave 3, 4, 5, all that, then we need to look for a 5-wave impulse in here. You know, I don't know if I could see that. There's not much here, you know. Let's see. What I would say is this could be a 1. This could be a 2, even though that's kind of shitty for a 2, and that's kind of a small retrace. It probably didn't even retrace to the 286, 236, excuse me. And then this, you know, is all kind of one wave here, maybe 4, 5. I mean, that is a really crappy 5 wave there. You do have an extended first wave in that scenario, which is possible, especially on like a catalyst move like this. But I don't that's why I don't like counting on super low time frames. If anything, I would say this looks 3-wave corrective right now. And after this correction, finding support on a higher low, we could continue the momentum back to the upside. But I don't see right now, as far as our indicators go, like look at market cipher B here. Look at the money flow coming out aggressively. We did see those bull divs on the 5-minute. We got our small push up from that to our local resistance, back testing the anchored VWAP and our pitchfork band. And right now we are finding some trouble getting back in there. Now that our money flow is coming out again, we do know that, especially on lower time frames, if your money flow is coming out of the asset, it does overpower low time frame bull divs. So I would say keep an, you know, until we start to reclaim this guy here, we're probably going to continue at least to range in this area. What I would expect today now, after such a volatile day of price action, we need to calm down and start to form a range. You know, the market needs to cool off. We need to start forming a range. I would say we could even start to form a bigger range over the next couple of days, or, you know, next 24, 48 hours between our point of control and our value area low. We could start to form a range here to see if the value area low overall is going to hold, or if we're going to continue breaking it to the downside and continue this trend down. Another option that I really like, because it happens a lot, is ranging within this pitchfork band, because we oftentimes see ranges within the pitchfork band. So that's kind of something that I'm looking at here. Okay, let me check the chat here. R Pink, thanks, man. Thank you for joining. It's good to see you here. 7% drop in 2 hours is insane. Yes, you're right. And here's the thing, guys. I was talking about this. We need to expect shenanigans from the market whenever we see a super important macroeconomic event like we saw today. You know, it was actually a bad sign that 4 hours before the press conference started, we were pumping like crazy into it. You know, we often see this where the market maker will pump into a news event, and then on the news event, which they know is going to be bearish, it will sell off like crazy. So what happened today with that? Let's go ahead and go on to a kind of clean chart here. And let me go zoom out to the 4-hour chart, because a lot of people that I know on YouTube were looking, or Twitter, we're looking at this trend that we were seeing. And let me go ahead and pull a ray here. Let's be accurate. Just from our highs here down to our lows here. And what they were watching for is a breakout of the trend line like a bump and run pattern, right? A breakout of the trend line, a bat, you know, or the other trend line that people were watching was from these lower highs here down to here. Was that the one? Let's see here. No, that's not the one. Okay. I'm sorry. More locally. So it was this guy here from the end of the 5-wave impulse to our lower high correction area here. A lot of people were watching this. And because they were watching that, because we had our 86K resistance. So let's zoom in onto the hourly chart. Our 86K resistance was near or right on top of that trend line. If we go ahead and pull that fib from the highs to the lows, you can see it was in perfect confluence with that trend line there. And so a lot of people are saying, okay, golden pockets here, our value area high of our smaller range was there. Our weekly was here at 86K. If we start to break 86K, then we're going to rock it because this is a bump and run pattern, you know. And so what happened is when we started breaking this trend line and this golden pocket just a few hours before the news event, if you look on Coinalyze, we did see a lot of longs pouring in. We got those longs all to pour in throughout the day just to get wiped out. So this kind of shenanigans happens from the market. I don't want to call it manipulation because it's not necessarily manipulation. It is based off real macroeconomic news, but it's the kind of games market makers play with retail. Okay, so that there. All right, let me check the chat again. What are your settings? So Kaijuice, I just went over that, but let's go into it here. So if you go onto the Pitchfork here, let me just draw one. And if we go into settings, you want to turn on your 0.5 and your 0.618. Now that's going to give you your bands, right? Like you see on this one, this is a bearish Pitchfork, or let me re-pull this the right way. So say you had a low, a high, or low, right? You have your bullish Pitchfork here. Now, these things here, these close ones together, I call the bands, and that's just the 0.5 and the 618. And so if we go into our settings here, you can look 0.5, 618. We have our 1, which is the bottom or the top, you know, and it will give you them on both sides pretty much. It will give you your top and bottom, both bands, and then the midline. So those are the only ones I use. I turn off all the rest of them. And I used to just have these 4, which also I still do use sometimes, but I've noticed that a lot of times it will chop in this area forming ranges, so I like to use that. Now, as far as what type of style of Pitchfork you're going to use, that depends on what kind of price action you're pulling. So I can't really go into that unless you have a specific example. But you just, like, for instance, if it's a very, very bullish trend, right? If we're in a big impulse to the upside, let's say we have our 5-wave impulse to the upside, right? And you're looking at your wave 1 here. You're correcting down to your golden pocket, which is a common retracement for wave 2 correction. And you want to see, okay, this thing is just starting to blast off with increased volume. This looks like a wave 3. Maybe you had bull divs and your money flow is going up. You say, I want to find my wave 3 targets. Where could wave 3 end? Well, I'm just going to pull the Pitchfork from high to low to high, and I'm going to use a original Pitchfork because that thing can be so explosive that it can go to the top of your original Pitchfork, hit the top of the original Pitchfork, and then oftentimes it will correct sideways slowly to the bottom of that Pitchfork in your wave 4, and then your wave 5 generally will boost up to the midline. So that is a way to kind of pull a Pitchfork, but that's on a big aggressive impulse. Now, if you're in more rangy type price action or complex corrective price action like we have been, you're going to pull a skiff or a modified skiff Pitchfork. Okay, let's check out Bitcoin. What is she doing? All right, well, let's see how this reacts here. I don't like how we don't really have any divs here. You can see our 12 minutes trying to curve over here. Dang, you know what would have been the trade was too long, the daily or the SFP of our original lows. You can see we came down, we hit the daily, we wicked a little bit past it. This SFP here would have been the trade to take, and I was setting up the stream, so I didn't get to take that. And then of course, right now I would have TP1 when we started seeing a rejection from here, stop loss to break even. Now you're in a risk-free trade. Next TP would be the point of control in confluence with the top of this band, because it will take a little while. So you do something like this, boom, point of control, top of the band, and then you might see a bigger continuation down. But yeah, like this all could be a wave one, wave two, wave three. You know, it's tough to tell right now. We don't have quite enough data yet. Okay. The VWAP is the daily. Yes, that's a daily VWAP there. So you can see how we just had our daily close. What was that? An hour and 4 minutes ago. You can see how my daily VWAP snapped to price action at the daily close. It changes every day. So look at here yesterday. Daily, the VWAP was here, snaps to price action on the daily close. You come up to where your price action is, trade along it, snap. You know, so yes, daily. I do use the weekly sometimes as well. Like the weekly VWAP is good to look at. I use a few things. You know, I also do like the Fibonacci pivot points, like the monthly pivot points and stuff like that. Yeah. Ooh, 77K. Okay, let's check the chat again. JC, you are the only. Oh, Roy, I appreciate that, man. That's an honor that you follow me with Jason. There are a lot of good traders in that Discord. You know, Boyan is great. White Phoenix is great. They just trade differently than me. And what's actually great about that Discord is there's different coaches with different styles. So there's a style that suits everyone. You know, I'm not a smart money concepts trader. I like it, and I'm not opposed to it, but it's just not my style. I'm a market cipher B to look for confirmations to enter and exit trades. I like volume profiles. I like pitchforks. I like channels, and I like just horizontals, like dailies, weeklies, volume profiles, stuff like that. So for me, it's what I'm comfortable with. It's what I know. And if you have a strategy that works, why change it? But I am also always trying to learn more. Let me put that caveat in there. I'm always trying to evolve my TA and always trying to learn more. Elliot waves, I thought I knew a lot about Elliot waves until I started seeing some of the really great Ellioticians out there in the market. And I am still working on mastering Elliot wave theory, which is amazing to get an overall bias in the markets. So absolutely keep learning. Okay. What price is the point of control? The point of control is right around 84.2. I would say 80. Yeah, about 84.2. Let's check Coinbase here because I do like Coinbase better. Volume profile. We'll just go from those lows over. So, 84.2, pretty much on both of them. 84, 2 to 250, depending on how, the thickness of the line, but 84.250. You guys, another thing that I do want to point out here, look at this. Look at this gap in the volume profile here. Low volume in here. So, of course, what have we been doing when we come into these gaps? Break through the gap really quickly here because there was not a lot of volume here. And then same here today. Break through the gap here because there's not a lot of volume there. And even on the way up, if we start flipping the point of control, we could probably see a quick move up through that. Although the more we trade within it, the more volume is going to get kind of printed in there. Okay. What do you think about Pepe? I can look at Pepe. So wait, I've got Super, Solana, Pepe. Oh gosh, it's already 6:07. Okay, I'm going to start looking at some of those other coins real quick because I do got to get out of here in about a half an hour. So I really apologize if I don't get to go that much into depth on these things today, but we will look at them. I'm going to start doing live streams, trying to do them semi-regularly here. So if you guys want to, you can catch the next ones as well. So first of all, let's just go to Solana because Solana is one of my favorites to trade. Okay. If any of you guys were watching yesterday's video on Solana, let's check this one here. Okay, I was looking for that purple box of resistance. Now I've deleted it since, or no, I didn't. It's right here. Sorry, I was looking a bit higher. It's here. We were looking in yesterday's video for a move up to this box here. And this box, get rid of this, was just our weekly level in confluence with the top of the Pitchfork band. And so you could see here, very similar to Bitcoin. We've been trading after that three-wave Trump, after the impulse completed to the downside, very clear impulse to the downside. We got that very explosive three-wave correction to the upside on Solana. Clearly corrective, clearly made a lower high. So after your three-wave correction to the upside, in a complex correction, you'll see another series of three-wave move to the downside in your ABC correction to the downside. We got that into the low. We were looking for this low, by the way. If you guys were following me about a month ago, looking for this low, and then we were trading in sort of the same ascending channel that Bitcoin was trading in, right? That ascending channel. The second you lose that trend, you expect to break down to your golden pocket. Okay, so now that we know we were in this ascending channel here, we can take our golden pocket from our lows of the move to the highs of the move. And here you go. We can look at our golden pocket area, which also had confluence with actually, I think that daily is a newer daily, but you can see the general area of the golden pocket. I had a green box in this area. I think now that I've deleted that green box, but anyways, it was also the value area low of our range. So right after the impulse ended from the three-wave correction from Trump, we're doing this here, pulling that same volume profile. You can see that our value area low was down in this area. Now, another thing we can look at, if we zoom out, I've been looking at on Solana a range that goes back to March of 2024, right? So zooming out to micro price action, you can see a very, very clear impulse here, right? I mean, either you could count this, you know, like this 3, 4, 5, or you could say this was a complex correction in here, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ended your impulse here. Since our more high time frame impulses ended, we have kind of been ranging sideways for about a year now on Solana. So we can look at that volume profile. Right now, the market is trying to establish a fair value for Solana within this general upper range here after this impulse completed to the upside. So you can take your volume profile from those March highs after the impulse ended all the way to present day. And I know this chart looks really messy, so please excuse that. Let me get rid of some of the smaller stuff. You can see that overall, before today happened, because this is today's candle, and this is the one that just opened 2 hours ago, the value area low of our range was holding us. Yes, we saw a deviation of it on our initial low. And then we pumped up, we pumped up to the point of control. I'm still short from 142.78 or something like that because I shorted once we started losing this point of control. And we've been just dropping now. Now we were holding, if we zoom in onto like the 2-hour chart, you can see how nicely we were building a base of support here on the value area low. I talked about this in my video yesterday. If any of you guys go watch my video yesterday, I was on the 4-hour chart and I was highlighting out, look at all these wicks to the bottom here on the 4-hour chart. That means anytime we're coming close to the value area low, we are seeing strong buy pressure come in and the market is buying up this undervalued asset, because remember, the value area low represents an undervalued asset in the fair value of the asset. So if we're looking at the bigger range here, the fair value of the asset we have undervalued, we are seeing a lot of buying coming in right at these lows here, giving us a higher probability to move up to our next resistance area, our big resistance area. The other day, we did pump up to grab our SFPR little highs into the band. We did that. Saw another drop, made a higher low. I believe that was our 786. And then we were looking for a push up to this resistance today. I said if Bitcoin goes to 86K, Solana's probably going to come up here. And it did come up there. It did wick quite a ways past it because volatility, but and now we're dumping really hard. So what's happening right now? First of all, we're losing our lows, grabbed our liquidity from our lows. We did have a daily down at 118 that is kind of trying to hold us. Let's zoom in onto the hourly chart. It was a pretty big dump past the daily even. I would say if you tried to long that, you probably would have got stopped out. But we didn't SFP, we didn't have the daily, and now we're below our value area low on both of our volume profiles. On our local volume profile here since, what was that, like February the end of February, and on our large year-long range volume profile, we're below the value area low. So as long as we're going to stick below this value area low, we could probably continue this impulse to the downside because this does look impulsive. What I also highlighted when you guys first saw me turn on this chart, I had an ABC correction on the chart because this could be seen from these highs here, rejecting from the point of control down to the value area low as an A wave. This could be our B wave here, and then our C wave could bring us to come take our lows at 110, which are very, very key lows of this range here. Where's that? Right here. These lows down here, which is the bottom of the pitchfork pole, you know, a bottom of a larger time frame correction. So yeah, I do think that we could, it's a possibility we could come take out these lows. Now, I am looking locally. You can see I have this inside pitchfork. Let me clean this chart up. I'm sorry, guys. I know that this is hard to read. Okay, and I'm just going to delete this daily now, too. It's been tapped. Let's delete this weekly. It's been tapped. And I will even delete this box because it's been tapped. Okay, so we have been looking at this inside pitchfork on Solana, and you know, you can see it's been pretty nicely respected. Same thing, got acceptance back within it, back tested it, dropped to the midline, kind of pushed up to the top again, rejecting from the band. Now that we're rejecting from the band, we could probably expect another move down to the pitchfork midline. There's a clear shot of that. And also, this pitchfork band, remember, if you guys have been watching my videos over the past week, rejected to the dollar, rejected to the dollar, you know, it rejected to the dollar on the bottom part, broke above it, back tested it, came up higher, you know, and then we just found rejection near our bigger point of control, year-long range point of control. We had a naked daily point of control up there. We had a lot up there. This is no longer naked, unless that's the one from yesterday. So now what we'll do is we'll just look at, we're below the value area low. So the first sign of strength I would want to see is a reclaim of this value area low. Now, I understand what you're saying, but that's so far away already. Like, you know, if you even long up to the value area low, that's a good scalp, I would say. I'm not looking at it. This is too volatile for me right now. I understand that this created a giant fair value gap and a giant bunch of single prints in here with this push down on this 4-hour candle. Look at that imbalance in there. That imbalance eventually will want to be corrected. The market always tries to find balance. So there is a possibility that we come up to correct that imbalance and then drop again. But what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for more. Like, look at our market cipher B here. Look at this money flow coming out really, really deeply here on the 4-hour chart, just starting to come out. We did see bear divs on the 4-hour chart as well. Look at this. Higher highs, lower highs. 4-hour bear divs on Solana. Money flow coming out of the asset. Like right now for me, I want to see, because we bounced in an area. We didn't bounce at our daily that I just deleted. The daily was up in this area, right? So where did we bounce? I'm sure there's some technical reason. You know, let's pull a fib. It's probably our 786 fib. Not even our 786. It's probably the 886 fib pull. Okay, yes, looks like it was right around the 886. We front ran the 886. But here's the thing. In a trending move, if you do come down to the 886 and touch the 886, you are more likely to take the lows that fib was pulled from. We have not touched it yet, so that is still not valid yet, but we got darn close, and I would say there's a high probability that we continue down at least a little bit to at least touch the pitchfork midline around 115 to 114, depending on time-wise. I'd say 115 to 114.4, because I was looking at this earlier today, and I set an alert at 114.4, I think it was, on a different chart. Okay, so we can still look at this smaller volume profile. You can pull it from after that correction ended here. We're below that value area low. And the only thing that I would be looking at now, we could pull this little volume profile here in this little consolidation price action that happened. You can see that value area low is right below or value area high, excuse me, is right below our 110 liquidity. So this is, yeah, that liquidity there. Let's go on to our other chart and let's look at this, because this chart, so this was that, you know, support that we were looking at over the last week or so. It was overall holding as support. You can see it was a weekly level, a golden pocket, a value area low, and a naked daily point of control, all in there. We were seeing bounces from it, and we were starting to make a move up. Overall, it was holding because it was our bigger range, year-long range value area low. Now we are breaking it with today's price action to the downside with increased volume. So I would be looking for a move down to 115. This rising pitchfork now, this bullish pitchfork, the next level is around that 113 to 115 is the next area I'd be looking. It would be a touch of the 886, yes. But let's zoom out on this chart and let's look at this pitchfork, because this pitchfork here really tells a story. Like, look on the daily chart here. Broke back within the pitchfork, back tested it, came down to the band, held the band for a bit. Then when we lost the band, we came down to the midline. Now, here where the midline is, you can see wicks past that midline. Hold on. Yeah, wicks past the midline, but no daily candle body closes below the midline. Then we get the big pump up on the Trump tweet to back test the band. Now that we're finally losing the band, we're back testing it as resistance. Rejected. Come down, see a small bounce from that midline again, but then when we finally lose it, we flip it to resistance. So what used to be support on the daily time frame just wicks below it. What used to be support now is acting as resistance now. And because we are rejecting from this resistance, confirming the rejection, we do have a higher probability overall to migrate down to our next more macro support level, which would be those two between 115 and 113. And then you can see here the SFP of our lows, our key lows of the range. Remember, this is the range we're looking at, right? From the end of the impulse all the way over. So when you pull a volume profile, you have your high volume nodes, your low volume nodes, which is your value area low, and your point of control, which is where the most volume and considered the fair value for the asset within this range. But just the value area low doesn't mean it's necessarily the low of the range. It's the low volume node of the range where there's a lot of volume there. That's kind of considered the undersold part of the range. The asset's undersold when it's near the value area low or below the value area low. But the actual lows of this entire year-long range, the actual lows, if we look at the actual lows, the lowest point in this entire range is at 110. Now, you can see if we SFP those lows into the bottom of the pitchfork band at like 107 to 108, depending on time-wise, that would be grabbing all the lows of the range, stopping out all the lows of this range, all the liquidity of this range into a higher time frame support level where we then could make a push up to try to see a bigger correction to the upside or an impulse to the upside. So this is really what I'm expecting. Now that we're losing some key levels here on Solana, I would be expecting that push down there eventually. We might see small bounces right now because we created such a giant imbalance here in this candle. So yes, we might come correct that imbalance before continuing down. But let's go ahead and I know I didn't do this on Bitcoin either, so we can mark out, like, this is a daily level that we were looking at. We're now above that daily level. But let's go ahead and zoom out to our weekly chart real quick. And I just want to check out our next weekly support level, which unfortunately is at 103. So we got a weekly there. I mean, I would be paying attention to that weekly. You can also see that's kind of a weekly order block in there. A bunch of green candles, one red candle, a bunch more green candles. And there's a fair value gap. Well, I guess there wasn't because this wick, but still an order block there. So if we SFP these lows into this order block or into the actually weekly level down here, that could be nice. Okay, now as far as to the upside, we just have that weekly that's up here around 180, 179, but I'm not going to mark that out because we're really far away from that. Let's go to our daily level here. And I would say we still have not hit this daily here that I would be looking at because not there. This guy here at 138, because we do have, and let me make this a daily real quick before I forget. We do have other confluence there. On my other chart, it's marked out as a purple box already. You can see here at 138, we do have our naked weekly point of control there. We have a naked daily point of control, and we have a daily, all within that 138 region. So it's already marked out as a box of resistance. And then as far as to the downside goes, I mean, we can just turn on our, yeah, let's look at naked weeklies. Let's turn this on and we can just look at if we have any naked weeklies below us. Let's let this load up. Get rid of that. Yeah, I mean, so the indicator only goes back so far. So I can't really tell if there's naked weeklies in here. I'm sure we can check AUTOS for that sometime, but I'm not going to check it right now. So yeah, you guys, I would say as long as we're below this value area low, we could probably expect that move down to the bigger bigger support between 115 and 113. And then if that doesn't hold, we're going to take the 110 lows into like our order block into 106 area, 108. Now, if we start to reclaim the value area lows, then we can expect a move. Now, look at this is our current week, so it's not closed yet, but depending on how quick we get up there, there is going to be a naked weekly point of control up there. I'm sure it's already a naked daily point of control. Let's see here. I got to start going a bit quicker on these guys, so sorry about that. Let's put that there. Yeah, pretty much a naked daily point of control right around there. So I would be looking at, if we reclaim, making a move up to 126. Also, we can do our Fibonacci pull from the highs to the lows. Turn on the golden pocket. Let's see if our golden pocket... Okay, golden pocket's not there, but our 0.5 is on top of that. And remember, in an ABC correction, a 0.5 is a very common target for a B wave to end before seeing a C wave down. It is a common target. I would be watching Market Cipher B for local bear divs, or bull divs, excuse me. And also on coming up to like the value area low. If we're coming up to this value area low bearish backtest and we're seeing bear divs, you better expect a dump, a rejection and a dump. I just want to check the daily real quick. Yeah, daily momentum wave still coming out. Now, money flow is overall been kind of bottoming out and trying to come up here. So there is still a possibility we do hold a higher low. I just don't like it. I don't like the way this looks. To me, this does look like, well, I could see it as, you know, as a trader, you should have both a bullish and a bearish scenario. Well, if you want to be bullish, you can say your impulse down ended here. And now we're seeing all of this is an A wave. This is going to be a B wave that makes a higher low. And then your C wave can bring you up to, you know, your major areas or even up to the value area high. We could actually look at that. Okay, so if that's the case, we can take our trend-based Fibonacci extinction from the lows of A to the highs of A to the lows of B, which are our current lows. And yeah, look at our 1-to-1 target is right next to our purple box, is right next to our range resistance here. So I would say like 153. If this is that's the bullish case scenario, that we're going to hold this higher low and pump up to 153. But you also got to have a bearish case scenario. And honestly, I am a little bit leaning more bearish on it, but okay, I really got to get on to the next one. Oh, BTC's pumping. Did someone just say BTC's pumping? Let me check this. Sorry, guys. I was distracted. Not really. It is above the band, though. Okay, so look at this. We're trying to flip it to support now. Here. Back tested it now, and if we can continue up, let's check out the volume on this push up, because if this is weak volume, look at this, guys, not looking good here. Anytime you see a push up like this on super weak volume, decreasing volume as the push is being made, it could be seen as more corrective. Now, if this is the end of a bigger wave 1 to the downside here, and we're going to make a wave 2, now your wave 2, you could go all the way up to the golden pocket on that. So let's pull our golden pocket and check out the golden pocket. It is right at that weekly still. So we can, you know, and then the value area high of our smaller range is there. Weekly level. But, you know, you're not going to be looking up here. We play level to level, right? So first you're going to be looking at your point of controls in confluence with the top of the Pitchfork band. If we start to break that, then the next area I would say is probably this area up here. We do have some imbalances for sure. some imbalances. Look at this. Look at these big fair value gaps in here, imbalances in here. So absolutely there's going to be single prints. Absolutely there's going to be imbalances that could bring us up to our golden pocket in a wave 2 before seeing a real explosive wave 3 to the downside. 4 or 5, you know. So, but yes, Bitcoin is starting to see some strength come in. Let's check the 15-minute. Ooh, look at this, guys, though. I mean, money flow starting to kind of curve back out again here, and our momentum wave depends on how this 15-minute candle closes. But I would be looking for a move now up to the point of control and see what happens here. This could even be a decent scalp area where you could wait for the rejection and put your high above that wick that was created. Or, I mean, if you really wanted to get degen with it without real confirmation, you could short it with your stop above that high, but I wouldn't do that personally. Okay, so let's go now on to shoot, what were the coins? Let's see here. It was super. Okay, looks like we're rejecting. Okay, lower. Yeah, Monty, absolutely. Thank you for joining. BTC pumping. Okay, pulse gift pitchfork from the 19th of January high. And Sol hit the median line perfectly. Okay, so let's see. Shoot. Okay, STR, I'll look at that just really quickly, but I've really got to get going here in just a bit, and I do want to check out Super just a bit. And 19th of January. So is that a bearish pitchfork up here? Okay, so are you talking about like something like this here? That couldn't be it. Or maybe this guy. On that Trump correction. And let's change it to a skiff. I'm not too sure what you're talking about there. Okay, let me just check Super real quick. If you want to post about that in the comments, I can look at that again. Super USD. Okay, Super here. So, Jaw Feel, last time me and you were looking at Super, we were looking here locally. So I pulled this box. If this box is only pulled this far, that means it came after this price action here. So we still... Okay, let's zoom in onto the 2-hour. Yeah, it does look like we saw quite a big wick yesterday. We had that daily in confluence with the Pitchfork band up here. Was that just a few hours ago? When April 1st. Okay. But overall, I would say, let's zoom out to the 4-hour chart. We're still in a big downtrend. And remember, we were looking at that descending channel here that we finally broke to the upside here and then saw a back test of it and a little push. But I would say now we're starting to find more of a bottoming range. Some of that selling pressure is starting to get exhausted. You could pull your... I don't like that volume profile pull as much, but that one is being respected. Look at the point of control. I would probably pull... Honestly, just from the lows here, you could look at this volume profile. Ugh, kind of ugly, to be honest with you. This one's a ugly one. That's pretty much the same thing. So we do have our bigger resistance up here where our naked weekly point of control and our pitchfork midline is. That is between 82.6 and 86.5, or 86.6, I'll say. As far as locally goes, here's the thing, Jopfield. This looks very 3-wave corrective. So you have your big dump down, you have your 3-wave correction, and now are we about to form a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the downside? I mean, I don't like this. But very locally, Let's go ahead and pull our Fibonacci here. Yeah, we're bouncing from that golden pocket perfectly a couple days ago. So we hit into the golden pocket. You can also see it's kind of a support resistance flip. Resistance through all this here. Now it's acting as support. Bouncing, making a lower high and rejecting. So now we do have overall a probability to move lower, I would say. I'd be looking at this box of support down here that we have highlighted. So that box of support is going to be our 786. So let's actually turn this on. 786. Actually, 786 is a bit below it. But our weekly is down there at 44.37 and a naked daily point of control. Let me just double check to make sure that weekly is still fresh. Yeah, it's still fresh down there. So that guy. Let's go on to our daily. That daily's been taken out already. Okay, yeah, I would just say I would be looking for a move down there. And that could look nice actually on the daily because money flow is rising on the daily, right? Overall, we bottomed out, money flow is coming up. You can see our momentum wave is trying to curve over here to come up for another, which could create bearish divs, by the way, if we do that, you know. But I would be looking for a little bit farther of a push down to make a higher low, have money flow continuing to come up here, and then we could see a bigger three-wave correction on a bigger impulse. So you'll see corrections within corrections. Okay, let's zoom into the hourly chart. Yeah, the volume profile I would be pulling. You could even do it from like this low where we started going sideways. You can see we're starting to form a sideways range in here. Rejecting from value area high. Eventually we have a higher probability to move down to the point of control, which is where our bigger box is. So this does have more confluence. A naked weekly point of control, a daily, a gold, not a golden pot, point of control, and the value area lows right down there as well. So I would say this area could be an area of interest. I would play it level to level, right? We play level to level in trading. So until we reject and lose this level, you're not necessarily looking here. You have to see how it reacts once it gets down here. But we are rejecting from our overall resistance here. And because we are rejecting from this resistance area, we could look for that move down. Let's check out. Okay, so there was nice bull divs here. You can see here lower lows through this, higher lows through this, money flow coming up. Really nice. That golden pocket hit would have been a really nice trade to take. Right from the golden pocket with confirmations. But we did reject. Actually, let's check this because if we hit this 886, which it looks like we might have. Okay, so this changes things a little bit, Jafiel. We have that 886 that has been tapped. In a overall locally, because this is a local trend we're looking at, you know, even this part is a local trend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high now. Now that we're in a local uptrend, because we've hit the 886, eventually we have a higher probability to come take out these highs. Eventually. That doesn't mean you can't drop down to this box of support first. But now that we know that, we could definitely be looking at support levels to look for longs to eventually come take out our highs here. Looks like, let's see. Okay, and we have like double top here. So twice the liquidity. I know a lot of people don't think a double top is really a bullish thing or a bearish thing in this case. But now we have a higher probability to come up because there's twice the liquidity resting here to be taken out. Okay. So also, Jafiel, I don't know if you're looking at super as more of a spot buy or if you're leverage trading this, but overall, we talked about this a few times ago when you asked me. Overall, we are near the bottom of our bigger range. So same like Solana, we can pull our bigger range here. You can see this bigger range. We are, what am I doing? Here. And we are near the value area low. of the big range here. We are rejecting from the point of control. Now that is a bit concerning. Let me clean this up so you guys can see this a bit better. I'm just going to hide this pitchfork for a second. So you can see trading within this volume profile, came down to the value area low, bounced from the value area low, made a move up to the point of control, rejected, another move up pretty much to the point of control, rejecting again. So yes, I would really be looking for, you could see a little bit more of a retrace down. Oops. To find a higher low of support, or even what would be really nice actually, now that we know we have that local 886 there, would be to see a move all the way down to this green box down here, where we have pretty much the value area low, a naked weekly point of control, a daily level, the value area low of our smaller range. That would give us a nice wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 could bust us all the way up here or higher. You know, because look at this trail of liquidity. I mean, that thing, when we start pumping, this is going to get swept. I mean, we could see a crazy candle on this thing. But until we do, what usually happens is you'll see that crazy liquidity wick. You'll start to form a bit of a range, you know, even in here, a bit of a range. You could even look at that as like an inverse head and shoulders, right? Break it to the upside, start sweeping all the liquidity. So what I would be looking for now is a range to start forming here. When you're near the bottom of that range, look for a long to start breaking the range up, the bigger range to the upside. So overall, good spot to be looking, definitely for longs. I would just be looking a little bit lower locally, to be honest, but overall pretty good. Okay. What was that last coin, guys? Can you... Oh, Sui. Shit, you guys, I'm already 10 minutes over. So, Sui, Doobie, I will check out Sui on the next stream. I promise, okay? Pepe was the other one. Shit. Okay, let me look at Pepe and Sui for just like 2 minutes each, guys, and then I really do gotta go. I haven't checked Pepe in a long... I don't know if I've ever traded or looked at Pepe. Let's see here. Let's check Binance. Yeah, okay. So let's get rid of all this really old stuff. Looks like we swept our lows. Okay, so Pepe was in this really nice ascending channel on the daily. Here on the daily in a really nice ascending channel, broke it, back tested that general area. Yes, we did front run it a bit. Dropped, took out our liquidity here, and now we're making a push up. Now, here's the thing. Remember, oftentimes I say when you break an ascending channel to the upside, you will sweep the liquidity of at least the second pivot of that channel, if not the entire liquidity of the channel. Well, what did we do on the daily time frame? We swept the liquidity of the second pivot. Taken. Boom. Seeing a slight push up here. But we still have this liquidity down here. You can see also here, clear accumulation, expansion here, and now looks like even could be distribution up in this area, or even overall bigger distribution happening. I would be looking for, let's go ahead and zoom in here a bit. Yeah, it is starting to form a nice bottom here. I mean, it does look pretty good. So I would be looking at this range. Because you can see this was that like big flash crash we saw like 6 or 7 weeks ago. So we can pull our volume profile from the end after that correction ended over. Reject it from value area high. You know, value area low. Now we're hanging right around the point of control. So you don't have a real edge being at the point of control. But it is bouncing from the point of control after being in a local uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Is this just a higher low before coming up to higher highs? So this is a possibility. And what I would be watching for is a sweep of the actual range highs, not just the value area high, a sweep of these range highs into the daily. But let's make sure that that is still a fresh daily level up there. No, it's, oh yeah, yes, it's still a fresh daily up there. So that is a good level I would be watching. Let's actually zoom out onto the weekly and let's check, see. Okay, there's a weekly here as well. I would actually be watching that weekly first. And that weekly order block. So check this out. Let's mark this out real quick. But in this chart here, that's bothering me. A lot of red candles to the downside on the weekly. One little green candle, a bunch of more red candles to the downside. So this green candle squished in between all these red candles is called an order block. Now we have that order block there, and the weekly level is just the top of an order block, really. That general area is above our range highs. So if we zoom back in onto the daily, no, it's above these highs, but not the actual range that we'd be looking at. So I would be looking first at the daily, knowing, let's also do our fib pull from the highs of this little range to the lows. 786 is going to be there. Yep, so 786 into the weekly would be an area that I would be looking for a resistance to come in. And then the next area would be the SFP of the highs into the daily. These range highs into the daily. Also, let's pull that volume profile again and let's look at that volume profile. Okay, it would be a deviation of the value area high hitting into here and then coming back within the value area high. So you'd want to see that. But as far as to the downside goes, I mean, we do have, let's zoom back out to the weekly and let's check here. Just the weekly down here. And we do have a, if our candle closes green this week, we'll have a weekly. But other than that, there's not too much else. I do like that. Okay. And let's go ahead and turn on our naked weekly points of controls. Okay, see, look it up here. Also, in our box that we had already marked out, a naked weekly point of control there. So definitely the first area of resistance that I'd be watching. I mean, the value area high is going to be the first resistance. The SFP into the value area high again, like a double top type of thing, but you actually want to grab the liquidity. And then below us, I would just be looking at that. No, not that. Okay. Naked daily point of control. Look at this weekly down here. It's got a naked daily point of control down here as well. So I would be definitely watching that weekly. Just know there's a naked daily point of control down there. Okay, and you could do your golden pocket pull from these lows to the highs. Okay, that daily that we have around, I'm just going to abbreviate, 0658, you have your golden pocket just above it, and you have a liquidity grab into it on the daily. The liquidity grab from a couple days ago. Into golden pocket, into daily. So this could be a very local support level that you'd be watching. But I value area low into 786 would be good as well. The next thing is that weekly down there. Yeah, we've already hit the golden pocket. So here's the thing. It's not going to be as strong next time. So I would actually say, yes, you do have your daily. We didn't hit the 0.65 of the golden pocket, but we did hit the 618. So I would actually refine this down to the 0.65 to the daily. And the SFP into it, because you want to see that wick past that level. Okay, let's do one more, and then I really do, or wait, Sui for like 2 minutes, and then I gotta go. Okay, I think we were looking at this the other day on stream. Sui's trading within this bearish pitchfork. Bounced from the bottom of the pitchfork, came up to the band. We didn't quite make it up to our resistance that we were looking at here, but you can see we are bouncing from the midline today. Nice strong bounce from the midline today. And we still have that resistance below us, or support, excuse me, below us. So I would say Still look at this support, this daily at 2.16. Weekly here. I'm just trying to get weeklies. I know you guys can't read that. That weekly's been taken. Okay, so that daily's been tapped. That daily's been tapped. Yeah, this is the next freshest daily. So daily 786 down below us is what I'd be watching. But right now we're bouncing, seeing a nice strong bounce from the Pitchfork midline. So what we could look for is now, well, I would pull this range. Okay, rejected value area high. Point of controls in here. We're bouncing from point of control, Pitchfork midline. I would like, we did have a nice SFP here. Okay, we grabbed the liquidity and dumped. Fake out of the value area high. Double top there. And we have this little itty bitty liquidity guy here. So I would be looking at this box still between 258 and 260. I'm sure that is going to be our golden pocket. Yeah, it's our golden pocket. So SFP into golden pocket into Pitchfork band. Below us, I would look at this daily 786. But if we do come down again, like say we reject very, very locally from our golden pocket 786 here. 786 is in confluence with the value area high. So you could reject from 786 and then make one, excuse me, make one more rotation to the value area low, swing fail these, or the swing failure of this low into our daily 786. Okay, guys, that is it for today. Let's look at Bitcoin for 10 seconds. Wow, it's pumping a little bit. We do have those imbalances. So, like, I mean, look at this fair value gap in this candle. I would be watching this point of control at 84.2. That's going to be a key back test. Now that we are below it, you can see last night we bounced from it, made new highs. Now that we're breaking it to the downside, if we bearishly back test it and reject, we can look to continue to our 80.7K area, which has been a key area we've been looking at for like 2 weeks now. Why won't it just go down there? Because I wanted it long from there. All right. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciate all of you. Let's see. Stealing trade. Okay. Hope you can. Oh, Kevin, do you consider SFP successful if a single 5-minute candle wick closes above major level, like a naked weekly, but closes below the level? Okay, wait. Do you consider SFP successful if a single 5-minute candle wicks above the major level, like a naked weekly or naked weekly POC, but closes below the level? Yes. So here's the thing. What an SFP is, it's a liquidity grab, right? It's called a swing failure pattern. So you're looking for swing highs or swing lows. So sometimes a wick above like a weekly level, you're not necessarily grabbing liquidity there. It's a resistance level where you can kind of treat it like a swing failure pattern, but swing failure pattern is a pattern meant to grab liquidity above a high to stop people out, right? So that's why a swing failure pattern works. Because say a bunch of people shorted, in this area, this upper range here, right? Say I shorted here on the local 886 back test. My stop on that short is going to go above the high. You're going to give it a little bit of breathing room above the high because your plan is that we're making lower highs and lower lows and we're going to continue down, right? So now if I'm in a trade from here and the liquidity, my stop is above this high, and SFP is coming out to stop me out, the market makers are going to hunt your liquidity, stop you out, and then continue the move down. So SFP works best on wicks of highs and lows, not necessarily on like weekly levels or daily levels or stuff like that. But as an example of what just happened, you can see here on our daily level here on the 1 hour candle, wick past it, closed above it. So it's not necessarily an SFP, except in this case, I'm sorry, that's confusing because this is an SFP, but it's not an SFP of the daily, but it's a wick past it and a reclaim. So that is a valid thing to look at. And a 5-minute candle close, absolutely depends on what type of trade. If it's a swing trade, you're probably going to want to wait for like a hourly or half an hour, 30-minute candle. But if it's just a scalp trade, like you're longing this daily, bring it up to the POC, 5-minute candle close is plenty enough. Let's actually zoom in here and look at that. So 5-minute. Now we didn't quite get. You had your one close here because we're not looking at this. Remember, we're looking at the daily. So let me get rid of these so you're not confused. But here, wick past it, closed above it on the 5-minute, and you did come back down again. So it's just, you can play them as an SFP, but it's not the same thing as an SFP. Let me just say that. But if you wick past it and then reclaim it, that is a sign of strength. So you can look for a long and put your stop below that low. Like the second we reclaim this daily, you don't even have to wait for a 5-minute candle. You wick past it, start to reclaim it. You could say, okay, I'm going to mark it in long as soon as we reclaim it. Stop below the low, coming up to my POC. 6-to-1 risk-reward ratio. You'd probably put this a little bit farther. 5-to-1 risk-reward ratio. And look at you guys, we're pumping. I'm sorry that I got to go. Watch an eye out for the POC. If we break above the POC and flip the POC to support, we can look up to 86K, where our golden pocket's up there, our value area high is up there. We can just look for another move up there. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Have a good one.